Lou Holtz died last week at 89. And it reminded me of a moment I saw when I was 17 years old. I was sitting in the New Orleans Superdome for the 1980 Sugar Bowl. Arkansas versus Alabama. Lou Holtz versus Bear Bryant. At that age, I wasn't studying systems. I was studying legends. Alabama was the machine. Arkansas was the challenger. The outcome felt predetermined before kickoff. That's how dynasties feel when they're young. They feel permanent. Even before kickoff, I remember something that stuck with me. Bear Bryant was known for his houndstooth fedora. It wasn't just clothing. It was identity, authority, Alabama mythology stitched into wool. He wore it every game, every sideline, except that night. No hat. Someone asked him why. He said, "Mama told me not to wear a hat indoors." 17-year-old me thought that was charming. Older me realizes it was revealing. Even legends operate inside rules someone else gave them. I just didn't understand yet how often leverage works the same way. Years later, while working in banking in Mississippi, I met Kevin Scanlon. Kevin had been Arkansas's quarterback in that game. By then, he was running a sports representation arm connected to the investment firm our bank used as a clearinghouse. Kevin told stories the way former quarterbacks always do. Calm, matter of fact, almost analytical, like he was still reading coverage. One day, the conversation drifted to that Sugar Bowl, and he told me something I had never heard before. The kickoff. Kevin said it happened before the opening kickoff, not late in the fourth quarter, not during a turning point drive, not after the game had settled into a rhythm, in the locker room, before the game. An Arkansas player stood up and said, "I had a dream last night. We lost the toss and kicked off to Bama. During the return, we force a fumble and get the ball. We go on to win the game. Not predicted, not hoped, declared." Coach Holtz, who was in full game mode, said, "Okay, thanks for that, bud. Now let's focus on the game." And then it happened. The captains went to midfield for the coin toss. The referee pointed to Alabama as winning the toss. The Tide would receive. The player looked at Holtz and said, "See, told you." Holtz nodded, almost disgustingly. Arkansas kicked off. On the return, they popped the Bama return man and forced a fumble. The referee turned to the crowd and pointed the other direction. Arkansas ball, first down. The player looked at Holtz again and said, "Told ya." At 17, I saw that as a fluke. Years later, Kevin helped me see it as something else. The call. The part of that game that stayed with Kevin wasn't just the turnover. It was what happened right after it. Arkansas had the ball. The mood in the dome had shifted. Kevin walked straight to Lou Holtz and said, "Okay, Coach, what's the call?" Holtz paused, grinned, and looked at him and said, "Hell, I don't know. Let's go ask him. He seems to know everything." When Kevin told me that story years later, he laughed. I didn't, because something about that moment stuck with me in a way I didn't yet understand. Authority had shifted in real time, not to the head coach, not to the quarterback, not to the coordinator. It shifted to the person who saw the moment clearly enough to believe it before anyone else did. That was the first time I ever saw leverage. I just didn't have a word for it yet. Coach Holtz died last week at 89. College football was better because he was in it. This story comes from my book, Agent Confidential.